Hello, Warriors. How's everyone doing today? Gold taking a hit, finally. The beach ball took a lot of heat for top picking it over the last week or so. Silver was an easier short, and even those sales from last week are looking pretty good. How are you, Ingmar and Bran and Hugo and Kman's in the house? Steve. Hi, Marcus. RC. AJ, how are you? RJP, how's it going? James. Okay, so let's go to work. And the metals are actually they're selling off with it's kind of a stable dollar. Dollar's not doing anything, uh, you know, abnormally strong. In fact, the currencies are higher. So here we go. Starting with the gold down 25 here, and started diverging up here. Had this one last poke this week. So you know what it's set up for, guys? A potential reversal week. I know it's only Tuesday, but we have that possibility. So I always kind of look to see at turning points. Like last week, you had a great weekly close in gold, right? Did nothing wrong, blue candle. But here we just took out the highs by a buck or two yesterday. And a 2 week reversal is all the way down to 28.82. That's another $40 away. Silver, um, there's your weekly. More and more looks like a, um, failing rally. This pretty negative week, and like I was saying, even the 3250 sales look good, and it got up to 33, 39. So still think we're headed down here. You'll probably start, if we do get down here, you'll probably start hearing people talk about a head and shoulders top with a neckline at 26. I don't think that's going to be the formation. But in fact, longer term interpretation is this next time that the silver bottoms is the end of two. This is a big two, and will be set up for three to the upside. So in the next several weeks, a month or so in this range. Now, this line's coming in under 27 now. So I'm going to call it 26 and a half, back up the truck time. And I don't think Ryan's here today, but I
He's not.
saw,
Good morning, Dale.
hey, how are you, Kay? So, um, a little bit of weakness in the dollar. I know you're
Yep.
long cable and some Aussie.
Well, I
Aussie,
was actually I let all of them go, but then I bought some back this morning. And well, I'm only cable. I don't have any Aussie right now. So I'm well, it's still sort of where I went out yesterday, but uh, yeah, the dollar showing a little bit of weakness here. Equities are bouncing. And it seems like the algos are firmly plugged into to all of it. Um, yeah, I mean, finally, gold and silver are letting some go. It's funny because yesterday I didn't really, well, I didn't do anything, but I didn't really pay too much attention. But then I heard somebody updating or saw somebody updating. Actually, palladium started to come down, and it looks as if it's been a front runner of all the other metals.
yeah, I know
Um,
a lot of people turned bullish platinum, and
mm,
because they're looking for the catch-up move.
mm,
I think it's important that platinum puts in a higher low here.
mm,
Okay, because if we test 900 again, I wouldn't trust that level again.
no.
Just like finally um, in Bitcoin, we took out 92, and we're not going to have one of these
But
days. I'd
yeah, that's
bet
what
$100 that we don't have that 92 does not recover above it
yeah.
from here
Yeah.
today anyway.
I think I'm not sure whether it is a testing of Trump trades or starting to doubt about Trump trades. You know, the cryptos, the lower bonds because of more spending or tariffs, and the higher dollar. And I'm starting to be very reluctant, Dale, to buy that story. And I think the market is perhaps coming around to the fact that it's not going to be all rosy or so. And I'm not saying we are there at the inflection point,
Yeah.
but yeah, you know what I said at the start of the year? I said it's going to be a bumpy ride, and I think inauguration, then a few months of having this Trump 2.0 trade. But it feels to me like it's not going to be a few months, but we may be closer than we think about on to that inflection point. That's anyway what I'm starting to. I don't know. Just having this feeling that we could.
The times they are a changing.
Yeah. The tide is indeed changing. I actually said it this morning in the chat room as well. I said the wave may have hit the shore, you know.
Well, uh, I was talking, Jim let me know after his interview with Blake on Friday, he called me because we keep in touch, and he got short S&Ps through an ETF. And I talked to him yesterday, and he was covering. He said that's four, and this is five, but we have five waves down now,
Mm,
okay, on the hourly.
yeah,
So, that's a reversal signature, usually.
yeah.
Not,
I've
could
had,
still be an ending diagonal and blow off to new highs. But because it's five and not just an ABC down to this
mm,
59.66, I think the appropriate technical action is, if you're a bull, you know where you're wrong. But if you're a bear and you think what happened last week has legs, then you have to view any retracements as a great selling opportunity with, just you don't even have to risk the highs. You just risk the pivot. And
mm.
the pivot's coming on, around 69, 60.90 now.
Yeah.
So I think
If
you
you
sell rips.
if you zoom out just a little bit, since the 2025 move, the 50% is
So
at 59.50. And I also have a trend line coming in there. And I think 59.50, we went close. Yeah, we did, I think 59.60 or so this morning. 59.50 is going to be. No, I don't think that the daily is maybe a bit wide, but maybe the 4 hour also on your picture. 59.50 is 50% of this just yeah, since the 10th of January low to
there
the
you are
high.
from here, from here.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I think that's and I've got a trend line there as well. So that's
Okay.
going to be a level I'm going to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Uh, and interesting levels on the 10 year as well. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm saying that the market is now doubting or questioning the
It's right there. I talked about
probabilities. Yeah.
434, so it's taking it out a little bit. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, 1 or 2 BPs is
yeah,
not going to change the face of the market.
I
Uh,
wouldn't sell it here.
I'm sorry.
I wouldn't sell it here looking
No,
for lower
well,
yields right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, I spoke about it on the Flow Show as well, and I think I mentioned it here a few times as well. My neutral kind of zone is not far from here on the tens. It's around 420, and we are slowly getting there. But one of the Trump 2.0 trades was higher yields. We had this initial spike, but it's coming down. I mean, earlier than I thought it would, and so that's why I'm saying we need to be a bit careful here. And then we just may have that inflection point in the dollar not being far away.
Okay. Here's the bonds. The bonds were a good place to be Friday. Um, I'm still not convinced it's a major low. I think a lot of bond people are. I'm not convinced that it's
Mm,
a major low yet. as
Oh,
you can see.
hey Dale, I just wanted to and just interrupt really quick. We're
Yeah.
pressing that 618, aren't we? It's I haven't looked yet this morning because I've been busy doing all sorts of crap,
You
but
mean
is
from here and this bounce is 618,
yeah, from that last high, go left a little bit.
94?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
If you drop a drop of fib level, I think we're
yeah.
right at that 618 again.
Yeah, because I think we're going to take out these lows, and I think that the 10-year is going to dig in its heels around here
Uh,
and challenge the highs again.
Actually, you know what? We've gone a little further. I'll have to show you. I'll show you when I take over the screen. You continue on. I'll come back to that. I'll come back to
Okay.
that.
All
Okay.
right. So WTI, just a question of if
Question of
we
time.
break, a question of if we take out this 70 level,
Mm,
and some people think it's going to hold 68. I don't think so. I think they'll gun for these lows too.
mm,
So basically, you have to respect how the currencies are acting with a day
yeah,
where there's pressure on a lot of inflation hedges and well, maybe the dollar's reacting more to yields, but uh, that's what I see, and I do think on the S&Ps and the Nasdaq has been weaker. Um, they could fall bigger in percentage terms, but if this is the top in the S&Ps, and we're on the verge of having a monthly reversal, if we keep going lower throughout the end of the week, that's not a great signal. We already know what the weekly looked like. It was really ugly. You're getting follow through, but if it holds, I think it's worth taking a shot at see where the off number is. Yeah, we're under the off number. And in fact we had a 2 week reversal on the close Friday, so weekly looks bad, and I think that the monthly you still need some handles to the
mm,
downside to get a monthly reversal.
yeah.
But
One thing I would like to say before making a decision, and sorry, that's what I was talking about in our room as well this morning. Is we cannot forget that we are again at an end of the month, so
yeah,
there may be those rebalancings and everything ongoing. That's why I'm saying I don't know yet whether we are really at those inflection points, because I want to really see for another couple of days. I've got my little biases, but I want to see for a couple of days, because there's a couple of things to watch for month end, because we have some discrepancies on US versus European stocks, for instance,
So
which could.
would we be getting some corporate month end dollar buying like
That's
tomorrow?
tomorrow. We should, in theory, see that if we get it. But I
Yeah.
think that what we've seen of late, like yesterday running into 4 p.m. London time, for instance, and this morning European time, maybe already seeing some of those things, because we've had yesterday around 4 into 4 p.m. London time, and then this morning when we started at 8 a.m. London time, we had this drop in euro yen as well, 70, 80 points, and then we reversed. And yesterday we have seen pretty much similar kind of scenarios. So we were thinking on the flow show, thinking out loud, that perhaps we've already started somewhere, because a lot of companies, asset managers pre-hedge now, because they have found out that if they wait for the last day of the month, they're always getting host on their executions, because it's a bit too obvious what they need to do. So they
Right.
spread it out a lot more. So we think there may already be a bit of a start of procedures as well. So just one thing to keep in mind when we see those currency moves around certain times of the day.
the video's Wednesday after the close, and I just want to remind everyone of Greg's view when I covered my NVIDIA puts. He had a roadmap that from here we would fill the gap, mission accomplished, wizard, that we'd pull back into this like 27 area, or anywhere between here and here, put in a higher low, and then blow to new highs, 165 or something like that. The old high's 52.
Hmm.
So that's some, I might even go for some calls if they sell it off down there into earnings. So, um, you know, it'll probably take out 100 after I do it, but I think I may try it. So,
It's
so
interesting. He literally just blogged a few minutes ago, and if you guys haven't seen it, you can just go to right to the ForexAnalytix website and just look at the blog. He just blogged about the S&P and coming off, and that would have to coincide with Nvidia's earnings tomorrow. I mean, I can't imagine Nvidia's earnings are going to be blowout and Nvidia goes up and the stock market goes down.
no,
I don't see a world that we live in like that. Do you?
no, no, I
Yeah.
don't either.
Yeah. Okay.
Except, it's crazy, but when you look at semiconductors, the opposite has happened for quite some time. When you look at where the semis. Okay, here's semis. So semis haven't made a new high through all these successive new highs in indexes for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay,
I was having this
why
conversation
can't
yesterday
the
with
opposite happen, where the semis are bid, but the overall market remains under pressure?
yeah, I was talking to Helene Meisler yesterday, and she was referencing all the different sectors that are so sideways, and we just keep getting rotation. So
Yeah,
you're right. There's like the semis come down, and telecom picks up the ball or
right.
whatever it is. It
Because it's
isn't so.
illegal. It's
It's
illegal to go to cash.
it
They
is.
they debit your account.
That's right. It is illegal. It's illegal until we find out if this tariff threat is real this weekend. And if it is, and that's another thing we're going to discuss here in just a second, Dale, is this weekend's kind of where the rubber meets the road with Canada and Mexico. And too much of the market does not believe Trump's going to pull the trigger. Too many people. I was just listening to another analyst this morning that I highly respect. He's like, he's not going to do anything. And I know the whole market feels that way.
Yeah,
That it's just not going to happen. It's just, and I don't know if it does happen, then I think that's where going to cash isn't illegal by the market standards. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Because
So,
you can't find a Mag 7 that looks. I think Nvidia looks the best, but Amazon doesn't look so good, right?
no,
It
no,
was
no.
diverging up here. Apple looks the best right now.
Right.
Here's Meta. It looks like it's still vulnerable. Goog, never could recover. Um,
Microsoft still is,
yeah,
stuck.
and Netflix was a star, and
Yeah.
that's given some back. You're right, Microsoft. Sitting on this major support level, and
Yeah.
measure's pretty big too. Measure's still like down here if we get a
S-
breakdown.
Speaking of which, yeah, have you seen Bitcoin today?
Yeah, it broke down the wedge, a
Y-
descending triangle. I
yeah.
opened with that. I was willing to bet that we weren't going to close over 92 this time because you know how many false, attacked 92 and held, attacked 92 and reversed, but not this time.
Looks like a big Wyckoff distribution. I know
Yeah.
I've been talking about it the last couple weeks, and
Yeah,
it looks
you
like
were
it's going to
talking
break.
about it, yeah, a
Yeah.
week or so ago. You said,
Yep.
I'm not trying to make enemies or anything with you hodlers. And actually, we have Neil's going to be with us today. He's Bitcoin guy. And, he's in a new business. He's involved in Bitcoin mining, where people could get involved in it for income flow. So that'll be an interesting presentation. Because I mean, if this is the new way, even if you didn't buy Bitcoin at $100, you could get involved in mining it. A lot of miners do pretty well. So yeah, there's Bitcoin, and I'm tired of hearing my voice, Blake. You ever get that way?
Every day, every day, every
uh,
day. Not you. I'm talking about
no,
me.
I know, I know, I know, I just heard myself
I
say,
enjoy
Dale,
listening to your voice, Dale. You have a great voice for radio.
a
Great
face.
face for radio. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. I do.
Hey, You were talking about real quick. You were talking about crude oil, and I want to reference this chart. This is a big broken trend line that crude.
Ah,
It just every time it dips to 70, which today it dipped to 70. We're just finding buyers. I wouldn't be bearish ahead of this 78% retracement, which comes in at 69.70. So that means if it breaks 70 and it starts taking out the stops below, and you go, oh my God, it's so bearish. It really don't get too excited about it. And
that's a great look.
again, I'm not a crude trader. I always try to tell people whenever I trade crude, I don't know what it is. It's like the my biggest enemy instrument. I've only done it maybe, a half a dozen, maybe a few more times in my life. I've traded crude because I'm like, oh, here's a great opportunity I've been waiting for forever. And then
So your favorite spread would be cable crude in some way, right?
yes, yes. There we go. Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Touche. Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't trade, but I tend to call it all right. I tend to be, it's always like when I'm not trading it, I'm like, oh, it's gonna bottom here, and then it does, or
right.
tops or whatever. But anyway, I just think it's really important. Even if it drops below 70, I don't think it's a short yet. So, but who was I talking to yesterday that really feels like, or who was I was listening to somebody. I don't know, some analyst. I always do that when I'm working on analysis on Forex Analytix, and I'm going through crude and gold and everything else. I'm always listening to what other people are saying,
Yeah.
and so somebody who's like, "Oh yeah, crude's going to 50 this next year," and whatever. We'll see. Um, let's talk a little bit. I wanted to talk a little bit about this 10-year because this is the 618 retracement. Now, remember, this is your 10-year notes. We finally broke out to the upside. Remember, we had this head and shoulder pattern. It flip-flopped around, but it's finally breaking back underneath the underside of this trend line here. And when you're talking about yields, you got yields coming down. We have big auctions this week. We had a 2-year yesterday. We got a 5-year today. We got a 7-year tomorrow. And the auction, obviously was strong. So you're seeing, yields come down, and it's weighing a little bit on the dollar, where you have the euro back at 105. Now, this is where the debate comes into, and this is where I'm going to bring in Kman, because I don't want to say we sit on opposite ends of the conversation here, because I'm gonna, and Kman, we can sit and talk about this a little bit. I
Mm.
am a dollar bear. But what I'm hoping happens, and I've been talking a lot over the last 24 hours with our traders. Hey guys, if you're not, if you're in the Forex Analytics community, right? We have private shows that are just for our community members, called the Morning Edge, and also the Daily Roundup. So you're going to hear Nick. He's joins us on the Daily Roundup. You got myself and Steve on the Morning Edge, which happens in about 45 minutes from now, less than an hour from now. And for the last 24 hours, I've been saying, hey, this is the market that you really want to pick your levels. You want to trade your levels. You want to wait for your levels. And I'm like, if the euro gets above 105, that's where the 618 retracement is. This was yesterday. You want to be a seller up here as we're approaching, 105, 105.20. I believe what's gonna happen this week is, we're gonna get a hot PCE number potentially. Hopefully, I'm hoping it is. We're gonna get a hot PCE number. We're gonna get some tariffs that are really gonna startle the market, because everybody feels that Trump's not going to pull the trigger. They're just negotiating. Well, I think they're going to go forward. I'm hoping they go forward with Canada and Mexico, and you see the dollar strengthen as a result, because everybody's going to go, oh, they're going to come after Europe next, so the euro is going to come under pressure. But then I want to be a buyer down here somewhere, because I do believe, I agree with what Kman's probably going to tell you here in a second. I believe that the dollar is eventually going to weaken. I'm hoping this happens. Now, I hope a lot of things happen. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. That's how I'm framing it in my mind. Kman, let's talk about this. So I know you feel that the dollar is going to weaken overall.
Mm.
Do you think what I just mapped out a moment ago is possible.
Yeah, I think it is possible, and but I also do think that we are not too far away from that inflection point that I was talking about, where um, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter what he slaps on as tariffs, because it's always going to create a shock in the markets. But we've seen that, and I'm going to compare it with what's happening in oil actually. And we've seen since the start of the Ukrainian war, we had this huge spike in oil, and all the next spikes always ended up lower than the prior one, right?
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think this may be the same thing happening with the dollar. And also, but that's more like a general perhaps feeling. I don't think that Trump is in such a great negotiation situation anymore with the whole Eastern Bloc, and that I think that
Can I
after a while is going to really filter through, and the market is going to be less confident. I mean,
can I
a lot of the
interject? Can I
market,
interject really quick?
yeah.
But I agree with you. He's not as in much of a power position
Mm.
right now because no one freaking believes him. So
No, I don't. I
so
don't think
why
that
why wouldn't you put Canada to, put your hand on their neck or put your, boot on their neck
Hmm.
to Canada and Mexico, make them the scapegoats right now if you're Trump, right? If and think about like game theory and everything. Like if you're Trump this week, you're like, I am going to
Yeah.
really, really put it to Canada and Mexico
Hmm.
to get them and to renegotiate USMCA
They
anyway.
want they're it's like someone who's really begging for a fight. They want the fight. They
Right,
need
right.
the fight. They need it.
But he needs it too to have that. He needs to
Yeah,
be
that's yeah,
slap Canada, slap Mexico, so he
yeah.
can go to Europe and say, "See, I mean it." And I'm sorry, I'm going to let you continue on, K-Man. I'm
But
just saying, I
that's a
agree with
great
you.
thought, Blake.
Yeah.
No,
Anyway,
but
K-Man,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
yeah, but then we can have Canada and Mexico Mexican peso weekend. But I think it's globally. I think the market is starting to globally believe, or at least question it, that what was the Trump 2.0 trade may not be, and brings me back to what I said at the start of the year. It's not going to end up well, and that I think is what where we are not too far away from this. I mean, and it's not. People can say like, oh yeah, but the dollar has already weakened. The dollar has not really weakened yet, because we started somewhere around 105, then we dropped to 102, and now we are back at 105 in the euro. I mean, the yen is a different thing, because there's different tailwinds for the Japanese yen right now. But cable
Yeah.
dropped and then came back. Aussie, Kiwi, same thing.
Great
Um,
point.
I'm sorry.
Great point.
Um, but it's not yet, to me, if we reach the if, and that's what I'm thinking, that we may be reaching it even a bit earlier than I thought, because I thought it would have been a summer thing, first when I thought about the whole thing in 2025. But it may happen already a bit earlier actually than I thought. That the inflection point, it's going to change the face of the dollar, I mean. And yes, you will have currencies that will do less well or badly, in the case of the Canada or the Mexican peso. But I mean, the dollar can change, and then all of a sudden you're going to find the euro dollar, and we still need to break
Back at
106. Don't
102.
get you we still need to break 106 on the euro, and it's a big thing. But if the dollar turns, it's going to break, and it's not going to look back. Okay, so that is when I'm talking about an inflection point. I'm not talking about the intraday 1 2 days where you do like 100 points up and down. And no, it's going to go. Okay, now we break, and it's going, guys. And
I agree. If it breaks 106, we're going to 110.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah, that's
But
my
then,
100%
but then, I
agree.
mean, if let's assume, for instance, that UK is behaving well, regardless what happens locally in the sterling will be trading above 130 easily,
Yeah.
and that is what I'm starting to slowly think that we may not be too far away. But again, I mean, first of all, timing. Secondly, do we have the fundamental drives to really put the dollar, I mean, a leg lower? That is, it's still ongoing. That situation is extremely fluid, and that's where you are right, Dale, when you say, and Dale and Blake, and both of you actually, where you say there is this last leg of maybe he's going to slap tariffs on Canada, the whole world get a scare, and we're seeing a move back up in the dollar. But that could be the one where we have to be ready and say like, okay, now is the time to probably intervene.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's I'm hoping we see 103, 104 before we see 106. That's
Can
that's
I
really the point here. Hey,
can I address RJP his comment here?
go ahead.
It's
Yeah.
right there in chat. I all those things I believe are very relevant and will happen. But in between, just like Fed policy, all of these things take time to work through the economy. And in the meantime, we could have a 10% correction in S&Ps, at the most 20, and that brings in the Fed to add to everything that you've already said. So that's what I think is going to happen.
Hey, Dale, I know you have your interview. I don't know if
He's
you
not
need.
here yet.
Oh, he's
Neil's
not.
not
Okay.
here. I have to
Then look,
Forex
look,
guest Hunter. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Did you want to mention anything else? Because there is one other
No,
topic I'll talk about while you're looking for him.
go ahead.
Okay. So Canada, yesterday Trump was with Macron, and he basically said, hey, and this is late in the day, and I have to admit, FX market's sleeping right now. You got everybody's like, nothing's going on. Yesterday, during the press conference, he's like, oh no, these are going forward. These Canadian tariffs and Mexican tariffs are going forward this weekend. And the market really didn't take much notice of it. I mean, the dollar CAD did this late in the day yesterday. Excuse me, really quick. Sorry, we're getting our accounts fixed today. It's been so annoying. Um, so we had this move happen. This was late in the day yesterday, and you can see the market's still not 100% convinced with this dollar CAD. But I was short dollar CAD all week last week. I was short. It didn't go through, or it just didn't play through. I think I ended up at the end of the week. I think I ended up making like maybe 6 or 8 pips or something. I got out somewhere around here. Because we just didn't see any follow through. The scary thing is if this thing actually breaks the other direction. A couple other things, guys. Keep an eye on the Canadian dollar. The euro dollar is above 105 now, and 105.30 is obviously very big resistance today. We can't forget, we have CB Conference Board Consumer Confidence today, especially after was it Friday? Kman, it was the Friday, the University of Michigan consumer sentiment
Mhm.
numbers
Yeah.
that went in the toilet. Watch today's consumer confidence in about an hour and a half. That's a big deal. We also have like house price index, which, is for our consumers, we need to start paying attention to what's happening with home prices and valuations and blah, blah, blah. And then tonight, if you guys have any Australian exposure, tomorrow morning in Australia, but tonight we have Aussie CPI, which I don't have any Australian exposure, but it's something that I'll see you guys in the Forex Analytics chat room because we will be talking about that quite extensively today. So for those of you that are not part of the Forex Analytics community, remember it's only $1 for 10 days. Download the mobile app. If you have a Google or Android phone, or I had to go through and provide an update with some registration information. So if you're not finding the app there, it'll be there within the next 24 hours. I'm assuming it's every few years. I have to do something, jump through some hoops, and then they remove our app, then they put it back on, and it's basically just confirming information. It's a pain in the ass if you guys have Android devices. It'll be back up there literally within about 24 hours. So, with that being said, Dale, have a great interview with Neil, and Kman. Thanks for holding down the fort. Ryan is at, what is he at? Megadeth or Anthrax or
Yeah, something like that.
some heavy metal concert tonight. So he took off to a concert, so we'll see how he feels tomorrow.
Yeah, I
No,
hope.
he's not in tomorrow. I think it's.
Oh, he knows he's going to be a train
Yeah,
wreck
he knows
tomorrow.
he's
Okay.
gonna get hammered tonight. So
Anyway, I hope he got some good quality shrooms for the
Uh,
concert.
yeah, I
Anyway,
don't think it's shrooms, man. I think he's going to be drinking a whole bottle of bourbon, is what's going to
I,
happen.
I know, man.
All
I'm
right,
just
guys, have a great one.
I'm an old hippie. You know what can I say?
Right,
Old
you're
for sure.
60s guy.
Yeah. So Neil, Happy New Year a month and a half later, almost 2 months. How are you?
Happy New Year. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, Neil. How's it going?
It's going well. Happy to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk about Bitcoin mining. I know it's a new venture of yours, and a lot of the public are not aware of that. They're aware of Bitcoin and how it's an alternative there, and how it price fluctuates and what a bull market it's been, and wish they had known about it 5 years ago. But there's an income strategy with Bitcoin. You want to talk about that today, buddy?
Sure. It seems like I can't get my camera on unless you don't want to see me see
No,
me now.
I'm not stopping it.
Oh yeah,
I wonder if it's Blake.
it
You
just
see the
says
No,
video?
it's not me. You just check
you
your
cannot
settings, make sure it's going to the right. It might be pulling from a different,
it
you
says you
know.
cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. Whatever, it's fine.
Oh,
Dale, I'm not the host. You're the host, so
I'm the host. I don't
That's
know
all
how
right.
I stopped. Let me
My
see. Here I'm going to make
you should be
you.
able to click on the little three
I'm
dots
making
and
you
get
a.
on.
I'll make you a co-host. Maybe that'll
Oh
work. Try
wow.
try that. Yeah, something's happening.
Oh,
There
there
he
he
There you
is.
is.
are.
I saw you.
There's
But I
my
can't
co-host.
but I can't see you, Dale.
Well, you don't want to this
Okay.
morning. All
Sure.
right,
Sure.
I mean, I get up at 3:30 a.m.
Oh wow.
Yes. Anyway, it's nice to see you, buddy. So, how did you feel
Well,
with
yeah, go ahead.
huh? How did you feel with the red wave and having someone in the White House that is a supporter of Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, definitely we saw the Bitcoin, price react positively when Trump was elected. We saw one of the biggest increases in a few days then. It's definitely nice to have people in the US government who aren't antagonistic towards Bitcoin. It's really the first time since basically its existence that we've had.
Ever? Yeah.
Yeah, first time ever that there hasn't been someone antagonistic towards Bitcoin. And you asked about Bitcoin mining before. So yeah, I as of beginning of last quarter, I started working in a company called Abundant Minds. I think you had our CEO on Bo Turner a couple months ago. Anyways, for
Yeah.
those who might be like new to Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining is just the process of securing and validating transactions on the Bitcoin network while simultaneously issuing new Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin miners process these transactions, they are rewarded with new Bitcoin that is programmatically issued based on the Bitcoin protocol. Approximately every 10 minutes, new Bitcoin is issued, and right now the amount of Bitcoin is, I believe, 3.125 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Plus miners get fees on top of that. So I don't know, do the math roughly. What's Bitcoin at like 90,000 right now? They get over $270,000 worth of Bitcoin for mining a block. So obviously a lot of people want to do that, but that space is super competitive.
Yeah.
Currently the Bitcoin hash rate, I don't know, I haven't looked at it in a while. It's
Oh,
something.
yes. That's Bo said that's the first number he looks at when he wakes up in the morning.
So right,
The hash rate.
that would make sense.
Yeah.
So right now the hash rate is 785 exahashes per second. So what that means, an exahash is quintillion. So there's 785 quintillion. It's a hard number to even wrap your head around.
Yeah.
Computations per second trying to confirm the next Bitcoin block, which then gets you rewarded. So there's Bitcoin miners all over the world. It started, 16 years ago with people just mining Bitcoin on their personal computer, but now that process is a lot more difficult. So now you have specialized computers, Bitcoin miners, Bitcoin mining equipment called ASICs, application-specific integrated circuits. I think I said that right. Which are their sole purpose is just to mine Bitcoin. That way, there's no other things going on in the background. And a lot of people like to participate in Bitcoin mining for, various reasons. One, when you buy Bitcoin miners, as part of some business, you get tax advantages. You're able to depreciate your equipment. So unlike buying Bitcoin, which is just property that, a capital asset,
Right.
you just hold that over time, and hopefully it appreciates. If you plan on flipping it, there's capital gains taxes. But with Bitcoin mining equipment, you could buy $100,000 of Bitcoin mining equipment, which is like 10 of the really good miners right now, and offset that against, your income right away. So there's
Okay.
benefits that people like to get into Bitcoin mining. It's also, kind of like a steady stream of cash flow. So as I said, just to mine Bitcoin on your personal computer, that's basically, it's like playing the lotto at this point. But what you're able to do, if you have Bitcoin miner, let's say you have one Bitcoin miner, you could join 1,000 other people in something called a Bitcoin mining pool, where you all basically agree whoever does mine the next block, you will. There's a lot of different ways it's set up, but just in a very basic way, you'll split the rewards that you get based on how many miners you're contributing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
almost like it's a community that splits profits, right?
exactly, and it's based
Uh,
right, and it's based on how much hash or computing power you're
you've
putting towards it.
contributed. Yeah.
Right. So every pool, there's like administrators of pools. There's hundreds of pools around the world. They're each set up a little differently. The pools guarantee a certain amount, like the pool administrator of Bitcoin. So that makes people comfortable because they're getting, this free cash flow. Sometimes, it could be daily or monthly. So that helps even out, the uncertainty of mining.
Is it true? I remember during that interview that there was talk about that there are more advantageous times to mine, and when prices were coming down, it was a more favorable time to be a Bitcoin miner. Did I get that correct from Bo?
Yeah, yeah. Generally that is correct. I mean, there's a lot of different variables that go into whether Bitcoin mining is profitable or not. So when the Bitcoin price, increases dramatically in a short period of time, Bitcoin mining equipment sometimes increases disproportionately more than Bitcoin. So if you have something like that, you might be overpaying for a miner based on, the return it'll get you. Conversely, when Bitcoin dips, the mining machines sometimes the market for mining machines sometimes overreacts the other way, and it could be a more beneficial time to buy Bitcoin miners. But again, there's other factors too, like how many miners are on the network at once, how efficient your machine is, what your electricity rate is. So
Yeah.
so there's a lot of moving parts, and yeah, it's definitely another way for investors to diversify their portfolios.
Okay. And one of our attendees, Saluma, is saying, how about reserves and balance sheets in the system?
So what's the question exactly there?
Yeah, what is the question? Clarify, please, young man.
I see another thing, Neil. I hope you're rich,
You're
rich
rich.
now. You know what? No matter what the
Well,
Bitcoin price does on a day-to-day basis, my life kind of remains, unchanged. I buy Bitcoin for the long term to hodl it to
you're
get out
not,
of.
but you're not being driven around in limos and stuff now, Neil?
No, no.
Yeah,
I
no,
since we started talking a few years ago, I have the same apartment. I have the same Hyundai Elantra
uh,
car. I'm a very basic
that's
guy.
smart. You don't want to be a target, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's not even,
Yeah,
it's not even that. I just I have a long-term vision about what Bitcoin will be.
yeah,
And I tell people, if they're going to get into Bitcoin, it's to buy it and hold it for 10 years, at a minimum 5 years, because we've seen, over 5 years, no one's really ever lost, when it comes to, appreciation in US dollar terms on holding Bitcoin. So
yeah.
I don't, my, like I said, uh, I kind of just, keep it real.
All
Yeah.
right, buddy. You know, I talked to someone yesterday who believes that non-humans gave Satoshi the answers and helped him develop the system that would have taken him much longer.
Yeah,
What do you think?
or maybe
Huh?
Satoshi was the non-human in the first place. They
Well,
like,
there you go. What do you think? Will we get a big reveal on it? He is a believer. Do you know Leo at Leo Math Heart?
I do
You
not.
got to check him out. He's also a very interesting guy who's preparing people about the new system, the blockchain and Bitcoin. And he's a technical guy, but he also believes there is. I asked him, "What do you think the drones were?" And he said, some were human from reverse engineering, and some were non-human.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where are
That's
you at
way
on aliens and Bitcoin?
that's way beyond my pay grade. So. I do, I've had every single type of discussion you could have on Bitcoin. Is it a human? Is it an alien? Is it AI from the future?
Yeah,
Is it a group of people, a man, a woman, And honestly, the mystery is fun, but it's better off that we don't know. And
really? Why?
I
Why?
hope we never know, because if you have an asset with an issuer, there's someone that can be attacked.
Okay,
So it's better just for it to be, left in the wild. And money is supposed to be a tool. And the creator of it should be irrelevant to how valuable that tool is. So, and also,
okay.
for their safety too. It's better that no one ever knows who they are.
Yeah, I'm hearing more and more stories of people being careless with their Bitcoins and losing them, like in their, being hacked, accounts
Okay,
being
so
hacked and stuff.
yeah, there was a hack recently with the Ethereum network, unrelated to Bitcoin. I think it was the biggest
Okay,
hack in the history of cryptocurrency. I think it was $1.5 billion. But yeah, if you just kind of use best practices,
right.
um,
The
there's
wallet.
really, yeah, you buy a reputable hardware wallet, like there's like the Cold Card, the Trezor, there's other ones. Um, you know, the only like hacks that I've ever heard of are people through user error, where it's not really a hack, but people, I mean, there's something illegal happening, right? Someone's stealing from you, but it's, exposing your private keys using computers that might have been tampered with. It's being super flashy, right? And people, know who you are, and there's things going on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bitcoin is the most secured computing network to ever exist in human civilization.
Okay.
So it puts responsibility in the user's hands. Really, you
Right.
become your own bank. I could
Yeah.
answer some of the questions, I think, if you want, in the chat here. I think it's starting to come
Go
together.
ahead. I mean, everyone's already jumping ahead to quantum computing,
Yes, so let me go
which is
back to
what
the
years ahead,
yeah, so
away,
let me
right?
backtrack to the reserves and balance sheets in the system. So are we going to add Bitcoin? I guess that means, is the US government going to add Bitcoin to its balance sheet? That's what I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, I think so.
I have no idea. You know, I know Trump himself says a lot of things, and you know, tries to see what sticks. But his administration is it's built with a lot of pro Bitcoiners, well, at least crypto people in general, but a lot of people kind of understand Bitcoin. So that definitely makes it more favorable for the regulatory environment around Bitcoin in the United States, at least for the next 4 years. So that's bullish in and of itself. But whether we're going to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet, you know, to get Congress ever to, you know, agree on something, things are so toxic these days in our political system. You know, I really doubt that. So it would have to probably come through the executive branch. And I don't really know how motivated Trump is. You know, he's got a lot of things on his plate, clearly. So I would just say, if that really shouldn't be a determination on whether you're gonna buy Bitcoin. It should be because you've studied Bitcoin, you understand it, and you see the long-term thesis at play. You know, you and
How
I
about,
have been
yeah,
talking now for a couple of years.
yeah,
You know, Bitcoin was at 20,000 at one point,
yeah,
right? It's at
right.
30,000, 40,000. And you're going to have the volatility and the swings, but, you know, over the long term, you know, you'll be smiling. But it's, you know, it's a very simple process, right? Buy Bitcoin and hold it, but it isn't easy for most people.
You're
It's
right.
the psychological
They're
thing where
intimidated. The common saying is, I just can't wrap my head around it.
that's definitely one of the things, you know, the volatility really it shakes people. And when Bitcoin's price goes down, you know, not only do, you know, people start questioning themselves, but then all the skeptics come out and start, you know, grave dancing on Bitcoin all the time. You know, I've seen this a lot. And it's a tough environment to kind of be out there on an island by yourself. I mean, obviously there's millions of people in Bitcoin, but relative to the rest of the world, you're still, you know, a small percentage.
Okay.
I could answer, let's see, these.
Answer this. How many
Yeah.
Trump coins did you buy before they appreciated 11,000 times overnight?
What do you think, Dale?
None.
None. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
a bit.
I heard you had a chance to do it, but instead went long big fart coin.
Yeah, I don't, you know, I've been the
I
same
know you're a
type.
purist.
But
Right.
it's not even, you know, purist. If there was a better money that came along that
Yeah.
I felt was better than Bitcoin, I'd port my wealth over that. But it's now 16 years. Bitcoin has the network effects. You know, part of like what makes Bitcoin so robust is the infrastructure around it, the miners, right? Like I told you, there are literally almost 800 quintillion computations happening per second. You know, these like meme coins that are spun up on someone's computer overnight, there's no
Yeah.
infrastructure, there's no commitment, there are no businesses built around this. So really what you're doing is
They're
gambling.
scams.
Yeah, they're scams. You're gambling, you're
Yeah.
hoping to like pump and dump and get in on the last
Right.
guy. And
Right.
like, you know, do you have any like self-worth or self-respect if you're just you
They're
want
like the
to
pink sheets used to be in stocks. You
yeah,
would, yeah,
it's a
same thing.
zero-sum game where you're trying to buy low and dump on some sucker who's just gonna buy higher. With Bitcoin, you know, as the Bitcoin network grows, everyone wins.
Are you doing any Bitcoin mining? You involved in it? For
So
yourself personally?
So I have some hash rate at Abundant Mind. So I have a machine that's
Yeah.
dedicated towards me, and it's a cool thing. Once a month to have. Well, actually, I think it's on a daily basis. I don't look at it every day. Have a little bit of Bitcoin. Hit hit your account,
Yeah,
and
nice.
you know that's just going on in the background. I'm basically, you know,
What's a good,
making.
like, say the people listening and that see the video later want to get involved, what should they be thinking about as far as minimum investment to try it out?
Sure. So at Abundant Minds, we say like usually around $10,000. Now we do have machines that are priced at less than 10,000, but typically they're less efficient. So yeah, usually 10, clearly we have institutional clients that buy. We have one client that
A
has
warehouse?
over 100 mines with us.
Yeah.
So that would, with today's price, would be on $1 million, right? So it really just depends. So it goes from individual hobbyists to people who are running companies and institutional investors. We service everyone. We don't want to turn anyone down. At least right now, our capacity allows us. If you just want to buy one miner, go for it. And I think right now maybe the lowest price miner is 6,500 ish, but that changes on a daily basis. And maybe with the Bitcoin price, kind of taking a little breather. I know we were as high as I think 108,000. Now we're a little sub 90,000. Maybe the Bitcoin prices will come down. And yeah, definitely if you see this video, mention my name and we'll try to hook you up.
Okay, so what could you expect your break even? Say you invest 10 grand in the machine. How long would it take to recapture initial investment? Ballpark.
Yeah, I don't want to like you to hold me to this again because
No,
there's a lot
I'm
of
not.
factors.
I'm not.
But
Yeah.
our people, the last I've talked to some of our people at the company that kind of crushed the numbers, it'd be around like 2 years. But these machines are, they run kind of at max efficiency for like 4 years. So, it's kind of like as long as you're patient, the same way as Bitcoin, things could go well. But again, you also get the advantage of having this depreciable asset right off the bat. So if you're a business
Okay, so
owner,
you get the tax write-off.
you're able to
right
get that
away.
tax write-off right away. But again,
Yeah.
it does, I named like there's a variety of factors. There's no guarantees. But these machines max efficiency around 4 years, but they could run 5 to 7 years possibly. And what's great about Abundant Minds, we're based in the Pacific Northwest, so primarily Oregon right now. And what's great about that is the climate in Oregon is it's cool.
Or utilities. Yeah.
And it's very cool. So these machines, they run at super, high speed. So they overheat and there's fans that are very loud. And if you're in warmer climates and higher climates, the machines tend to give way. So we're in a cooler climate. You don't have to deal with like as much dust. So there's benefits to mining with Abundant Minds.
Yeah, and you know what? You're being very nice to the miners, which are not human, but at least you're giving them a nice place to live.
You
ever think about that?
Yeah,
Man and machine, we're becoming one anyway.
Yeah, the machine. So I went up to Oregon back in November. I visit one of our sites in Oregon, and it wasn't like super cold, but November in Oregon, it's still pretty cold. And normally when you're at a lot of these Bitcoin mining facilities, you have to wear head protection like these, not earmuffs, whatever you call them, that like a construction worker would wear. But when I was there, the fans for the machines were running so low because it's cold. You don't need to run the fans as much. You could basically go there without the head protection on. And we give our clients site visits. So if you want to go to the site, check out your miner, we'd set that up for you as well. Some people, prospective clients, come beforehand. And yeah, so it's a cool process. You really feel part of the Bitcoin network. Not only are you making money, Dale, but you're making money. I don't know if you understand.
Yeah, I got it.
But you're literally you're printing new money into existence. So it's a
Right.
really cool thing that hasn't been available to anyone really in human history until now.
Well, I don't know. I have to push back because
I can't wait.
anyone that owns a public company can
No,
print
no, but I'm
currency
saying
too.
you're, but I'm saying
Their
you're
shares,
making the, no, no, but I'm saying you're making the
money.
money, the
Yeah, that's
literal
right.
money that's used as a tool for value transfer. I'm not talking
Okay.
about like asset appreciation. You know, you can exchange goods and services with Google stock. I mean, maybe you'll find someone that you'll figure out a way to do that, but you know, on average,
That's
you
true.
can't do that.
No, I'm talking about Google. They have a printing press. All they do is issue more stock. That's
Right, but then
their
it, but when, yeah, but that's not real money. That's dilute. That I mean, that's
right.
like fiat currencies,
Right.
which is it's basically
Dilution. You're
it's
right.
like akin to credit and debt. You're just diluting everyone else's money.
Yeah. And that happens a lot.
Yeah, with
Reverse
Bitcoin, you know,
splits. You'll never
there
have
are
to worry about that.
there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin in existence. Right now, let's see, I have like a dashboard up. We're at, where is it? 19.8 million. So there's really only like a million plus Bitcoin to go. And then yeah, then if you want to really acquire any Bitcoin, you're going to have to, trade over some other asset you have for it, or you're going to have to work for it in the future. And Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining is basically one of maybe the last ways you'll be able to, get Bitcoin.
Yeah. Be in the world.
Yeah.
And the new world coming. That
Yeah.
you're way ahead. And why don't you show a few of your t-shirts?
Oh yeah, so I'm wearing. So I also own a Bitcoin merchant apparel company called FOMO21.
Okay.
I think I sent you the Hope shirt, right, Dale?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I love that.
I remember where I send every one of my babies to, and which one they were.
All right.
No, so we
Anyway,
have a
he's
yeah.
got cool gear if you're into it. Really cool gear.
Yeah,
So
so we have a Bitcoin shirt on our site that says Hope with a little
yeah.
Bitcoin B on it. Dale, he didn't make it easy for me. I told him to pick out a shirt. And he's like, Neil, pick one out for me. And I'm like, this kind of fits Dale. Just, you're always a positive guy with your messages online, I see. You've always been very gracious to having me on here. So yeah, I really appreciate you, Dale.
Thank you, man. And
Yeah.
you've been a source of education for people here on Bitcoin, and like I told Bo, you're one of the better ambassadors for Bitcoin
Oh
out
yeah,
there.
but
Yeah.
Bo's a good guy. Bo's super smart. I'm really, happy and fortunate to be, working at Abundant Minds right now. So yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
get to answer the supercomputer question. Should I answer it, Dale, or do we not
Yeah,
have to?
go ahead. Yeah, we got time.
Okay, no. So someone said these supercomputers, can they crack Bitcoin? You know what I'll answer that question, but you know what I find interesting, Dale? No one ever asks, will the supercomputers crack your Fidelity bank account or your brokerage account, or will they, crack your Bank of America savings account? People always just jump to Bitcoin. But let me go there. So first, if there are quantum computers that can break SHA-256, which is, the hash function that, kind of controls Bitcoin mining and all, other areas of the Bitcoin network. It's going to be strong enough to crack everything else first. As I said to you earlier, Bitcoin's the strongest computing network that's kind of ever existed. So they're going to come after the banks, the nuclear codes, and everything else. So Bitcoin's the last thing that's going to be on anyone's mind at that point.
Yeah.
But if we see quantum computing progressing at, a great pace, there will be quantum resistant cryptography that is put out to combat that. And for Bitcoin, that could be incorporated into Bitcoin. I'm not like super technical, but I've heard a lot of people talk about, the Bitcoin network could be forked. And although, the Bitcoin network has been forked by a lot of scammers over the years, kind of running their own version of the Bitcoin code, this would immediately, in my opinion, reach a consensus among people that participate in the Bitcoin network. There'd really be no controversy, right? If an update needed to be made to the Bitcoin network to make it quantum resistant, I don't know how that wouldn't happen.
There you go. And said with conviction. Neil, thanks. It was great seeing you. Next
It's
time
only
I'll shave.
conviction. It's only conviction because of the shoulders I stand on and the
I
people
know.
that
Yeah.
I mean, obviously doing my own due diligence, but also, I've listened to people like Adam Back, who's one of the earlier cypherpunks and cryptographers, who's kind of responsible for some of the things you see in Bitcoin today, talk about these things and quantum attacks and things like that. And, it just doesn't concern me. As you know, Dale, as I was saying before, every other day there's someone, a skeptic, a naysayer towards Bitcoin throwing shade. And I come back here every 3 months, every 6 months, and, you see the smile on my face.
Yeah, I'm glad for you, Neil. And I keep smiling.
Well,
And
I
we'll
hope
talk.
you've bought Bitcoin over the years when you've had me on.
Yeah, I have a little.
And you don't trade it, I hope.
No, I don't. I have too many other things to trade.
Good. So that means you're in
So
profit for sure. I'm
yeah.
happy
So
for you.
anyway, I'm glad that you have come here and influenced some people to do it over the years, because there were better levels, and
And you know
thinking
what I
set.
think, Dale? We're still at a good level.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look at what one of our attendees is saying. It's what what was it?
You know me, Dale. I think Bitcoin should be worth $20 million a coin right now.
Neil, always pleasing seeing you. Let's hold till $1 million. Dale, thank you, champ. Yes, he has been great.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so
Your audience is always very kind. A lot of times if you go into the non-Bitcoin media
yeah,
world, people could be very aggressive, but everyone also here is like super gracious.
it's a
So
law of
if any
attraction.
Yeah, it must be from you and the energy you put off. But if anyone ever has a question, feel free to DM me on X, formerly Twitter, at
Yeah.
Neil Jacobs. I try to answer everything. I get a lot of inbounds, so apologies if I don't. But definitely shoot me a message. I could try to at least direct you to the right resource if I don't have the time to help.
Well, there you go. Everyone, one of the best Bitcoin representatives I know. You ought to talk to Luke Roman, who's a big proponent and has been for a long time. Who
No,
has a
I'm a big fan of Luke.
Luke? Yeah,
I haven't him and I have never met, but I've seen him on a ton of podcasts.
yeah.
Maybe one
He's
day I'll see him at a Bitcoin conference. There is one coming up in Vegas. I hope you're coming to that, Dale. I'd love to see
when's
it.
that?
May 27th through the 29th. It's going to be at the
Oh wow.
Venetian. It's at the
It's at
Venetian.
my
I'm super
that's
pumped.
my birthday, May
Get the heck out of
27th.
here.
No.
Well, if you need a ticket, Dale, maybe I could hook you up.
All right.
But for anyone else, if you're near Las Vegas, definitely the Bitcoin 2025 conference. I think it's going to be the biggest conference in Bitcoin history, Dale.
Wow.
And use promo code FOMO, and it will get
Uh,
you 10% off your tickets for sure. Got to plug that.
so when there's, it's good when FOMO could get you something,
Yeah,
because it
absolutely.
usually takes it away from you.
No,
But
this will decrease your ticket price. So, I say to people, if you're just starting on your Bitcoin journey, I would never say go to conferences, buy my merch, start buying and stacking Bitcoin. But once you kind of like get it, and maybe you want to work in the industry, find investors for your business, then the Bitcoin conference is 100% worth the return on your money for sure.
right, yeah, you're networking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, all right, Neil. Great seeing you, buddy.
Thank you for having me, Dale. It was
All right. We'll talk in May.
Yeah, let's book.
Right,
Shoot me a DM.
all right, buddy.
All right.
So everyone follow Neil.
Yes, at
Yeah,
Neil Jacobs.
follow Neil at Neil Jacobs on X, and um, get involved and check out the Bitcoin mining. That sounds interesting. I may do something like
Yeah, if you're curious about Bitcoin mining, anyone shoot me a DM as well, and I'll connect you to the right person.
that. Okay, thank you, Neil.
All right, sounds good.
I hope this is your best year, even better than last year. So
Likewise.
that would be a great year. So
Likewise.
all right. So that's a wrap. Remember, don't just count your Bitcoins, count your blessings. And when it's all said and done, we probably won't even worry about how much Bitcoin we have. We'll be thinking about the people we had relationships with, that we laughed and cried with, and that you know, Bitcoin. Maybe you met them through Bitcoin, but it's
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
I'm sure you have so many more friends than you did before you were a holder.
absolutely. And, like you just money in the end, it's just a tool to do things with the,
Right.
you know, for your
Right.
friends and your family.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I tell people if Bitcoin went to 0 tomorrow, which I clearly don't think it will, but even if it did, the amount of friends and the network of people I've made that have like, you know, shared values, that can't be, you know, bought and paid for.
Yeah. I've often said that if I got paid in love and respect from people, I'd be a multimillionaire. Okay, so anyway, and that
You
is,
deserve
yeah.
it, Dale.
All right, well, thank you, Neil Jacobs, my friend
Bye,
and
everybody.
Bitcoin warrior.
Thank you, Dale.
Give
Bye-bye.
them a message and get involved. The times, they are changing. And don't just count your pips, count your blessings. I'll see everyone tomorrow. Adios.